Hello, I'm Janna, and welcome back to the Crafty Corner. Today, we've got our hands on the brand new Tim Holtz Distress Mediums, Twinkle and Snowflake. And I gotta tell you, they have been absolutely worth the wait. If you saw Snowflake in the Tim Holtz Simon Says Stamp collage class, then you know exactly how magical that concoction is. All right, let's head over to the Crafty Corner. Today, we're going to be playing with the brand new Tim Holtz Mediums, Twinkle and Snowflakes. These are absolutely magical. So let's first take a look at snowflakes. We've talked about snowflakes before because I was able to get my hands on the little mini jar that came with the Tim Holtz Simon Says Stamp collage course, and I still love that cute little jar. So I'll definitely be using that, probably refilling it because it's a very convenient size for travel. Okay, so here are snowflakes. Let's just take a quick look. We've got some sparkly goodness in here. And look at that. That is just so beautiful. But you really can't appreciate it until it's on paper. There's like a little bit of an iridescent sheen going on here. The sparkles, depending on what colors they're next to, are going to pick up in different ways. It's pretty cool. Alright, so that is snowflakes. Now, let's look over here. We've got Textures Paste Twinkle. Now again, this one doesn't look like much in the jar, but once it's dry, that's when the magic happens. So, it looks pretty standard. Can't really tell much just by looking at it like this, but there are little flecks of glitter in here. If I tilt that like this, you can see that they're glitter chunks. You can't see what they look like yet, but when this dries, it's going to be magical. So we're going to start off by giving the Twinkle paste a little play, and we're going to see how it shows up in different ways. First, let's just take a tag and we're going to just run that through the stencil. This is just basic. No alterations, just adding some twinkle. So I've got this lovely stencil here. This is THS 173. So I'm just going to put that right down here. That's good. And I'm going to scrape a little bit out of the lid. And I'm just going to run that through the stencil. This spreads so smoothly. It's like very soft butter, or a little bit kind of like the texture of mayonnaise. But it spreads beautifully. So as we're spreading this, I'm not pressing down with the palette knife. I'm just gently scraping to get the excess off the tag. And we can put that right back into the jar. And I do want to get all that extra little bit off of here because we'll be able to continue to use that. So I'll just put that little extra back into the jar. Alright, that's pretty good. Now, we're just going to lift this off. I'm going to set the stencil to the side for just a moment before I'm going to quickly spray it to make sure the medium doesn't stick. And let's just take a quick look at what we got. So again, you can't tell that a whole lot's happened. We've got the medium on the tag, but when it dries, that's when it's going to start looking magical. But we're just going to take this, set it aside, and alter a few more things that we'll need to let dry. Alright, just so I don't end up with a messy stencil, I'm going to give it a quick spray and a very quick wipe. I'll give these a real bath later on. But right now, just my sprayer should be good enough. And I've got a cloth. Just very carefully wipe that down. Just want to get the worst of it off because otherwise it will dry and be pretty much impossible to get off the stencil later. So I like to take care of those things right away. Ideally, if I had more space, I would put this right into a lasagna pan. But space, as always, is at a premium. Okay, that's good. Now, we're going to pull in a shifter stencil because those are just plain fun. Now for the first part of the shifter, we're going to put down a solid color of oxide. And then I'm going to go back in with the Twinkle. I want to do black and Villainous Potion. I'm also going to be pulling in my blending brushes. Actually, you know what? I think I want blending dome foam. So let me just grab those and we'll be all set. Where did that run off to? Okay. Well, let's start with Villainous Potion. I've got one of the minis nearby, so that's super convenient. And we're just going to kind of line this up. Okay. And we're just going to blend that through the stencil. Now the whole plan is to do a little bit of inking first, and then I'm going to add some Twinkle over the top. So just doing a little bit of circular motion, trying to keep the stencil in place. I really should have put down some grip. That would have made this just a little bit easier, but we're just going with it. Okay, good. Put the lid back on that. And now I want some of the black oxide, so I'm going to need a new foam. Okay. And we'll just shift this over. Now, the shifters are so cool. All you do is line up what you've already inked under the next layer of shift, and you'll be all set to add another layer. I do love shifters. They are pretty cool. Okay, I think we're good. I might have to shift this again because I got a couple of spots that look like there's room for one more dot. That's okay. And just inking this up with some black soot. There we go. I'm going to hold that down. So again, just nice circular motions, trying to get the color down. There we go. That will look good. Okay. And I just want to move this a little bit to make sure that I've got everything well covered. Yeah, I was right. There's a couple of little spots that need another dot or two. Okay, and that looks good. So the next thing we're going to do is take a little bit of the Twinkle paste and run that through. I want to go over this with, we're going to use the Twinkle paste, but let's go with the black. Actually, no, the purple, because I didn't have to shift the shifter once for that, so that will give me one clean swipe. That will work. Oh, looks like I did miss something, but we can go right back in. Good. Now we want the paste and we want our little collage brush. These palette knives are really, really useful, and I like the little one that gets into tight corners. Okay. So just a bit of that. And maybe a little less because I don't think I can scrape that back into the jar without contaminating it. All right, that looks good. So I'm just going to scrape that on here. And when it dries, we're going to have a beautiful layer of glitter over the purple dots. So just carefully moving that. There we go. And I think that will be pretty good coverage. All right, so I was correct that this did pick up some purple, so I don't want to put that back into the jar. I'll have to wipe that off elsewhere. All right, and we'll lift and set this aside. Great. Now we're going to move on to altering some ideology ephemera. There's lots of beautiful pieces that could do with a little extra touch of sparkle. So we're going to take those out and play with them a little bit. And we'll give our work surface a quick clean. And I will wipe off that stencil before it starts to solidify. We don't want that. There we go, spritz it down. And just give me a quick wipe off. Of course, we'll flip that over, do the same for the other side. And I will give these a very good wash after. Good. So I think we'll start with a little bit of Halloween, and then we're going to jump into a couple of Christmas pieces. Now, the sparkles are going to show up very differently depending on the colors that you're using underneath them. So here we've got a lovely black piece. I'm just going to put down a little bit of the texture paste. I'm going to take my finger and spread that around. And we're just going to see how this looks on black. But it's going to take a little bit to dry. Can't really give you a precise drying estimation. Lower Quebec is pretty humid and things tend not to dry very fast around here. So I could recommend using a small fan or setting this on top of a heating vent. But for the most part, we're just going to have to be patient and let this dry in its own time. Best guess, probably 20 minutes of needed dry time. But that's only a rough estimation. Okay, so that's all covered. We'll let that dry and we'll see how those sparkles look. And this was a piece of Tim Holtz Ideology ephemera. Next, I have got a few Christmas pieces that I thought would be fun to add a bit of sparkle to. So again, we're just going to dip a little bit out of the jar, put that on here, and I'm just going to spread that with a finger. You could use a sponge, you could paint with a paintbrush. I'm finding this to be more efficient, just time-wise. I don't mind the glue on my fingers, and I can easily wash them off or wipe them off with part of my towel. So we'll be good. Okay, there's that. Got this little piece right here. I need a little bit more Twinkle. There we go. And we'll just move that around. It's pretty quick, nice quick alteration. Add a little bit of sparkle for a future project. Love that so much when it's just little things that can make a piece so much more interesting. Okay, that one is done. Let's go over here, and I'm going to add just a little bit to this poinsettia. Okay, just spreading that around, and soon we'll be in really, really good shape. Okay, so our little Christmas pieces are done. We're going to let them dry. Okay, so our pieces from Ideology are done. We're going to let them dry. I'm going to clean off the palette knife. We're currently done with Twinkle. And we're going to pull in Snowflakes to do a couple more quick alterations. So I have a couple of pieces from the Christmas Ideology Layers pack, and I've also got a little die cut that I thought we could add a little bit of the mica right on the edge. It might look like snow. And now we're going to need a little bit of collage medium and a piece of scrap paper to catch the extra snowflake pieces. There we go. Got some paper and our collage medium. So all I'm going to do is add just a little bit of glue at the bottom edge. You know how sometimes in October there's just like a little bit of snow on the ground sometimes? Well, especially around Halloween. So I thought it'd be kind of creepy to add just a little bit of snowflake to the gravestones. So I'm just carefully sprinkling. There we go. That's pretty neat. And again, we'll set that aside to dry. Now we're going to add a little bit of Twinkle to this holiday wreath. That'll be fun, like there's like little ice crystals on it or something. So I'm just going to add a little bit here, a little there. And we just want like little dashes of sparkle. Kind of like the wreath stayed outside. There we go. I was collecting little bits of snow. Okay. A little here, a little there. Great. Okay. And again, we'll just go around and give that a good sprinkle. That looks better. Okay. That's neat. A little bit of dusting of snow on that. And we're going to do the same thing to this little cluster of holly. Okay. And we'll just sprinkle that on. Very good. So we're going to let these dry and we'll be right back to take a look and maybe put together a Halloween and a Christmas tag. In the meantime, let's go ahead and dump this right back into the jar because there's so much glittery goodness we don't want to lose a single bit. Great. All right, back in just a little bit. Let's take a look at our tags. So here it is once it's all dry, and look at the sparkle. Absolutely gorgeous. It looks like diamonds. I love it. So what we're going to do with this tag is we're going to do a little bit of ink blending, and then we're going to do a little bit of collage to make ourselves a Christmas themed tag. I wanted to show how you could use the sparkle texture paste in a couple of different ways for different seasons. So Christmas and Halloween seem the perfect choices. All right, so I've got a couple of mini ink pads. We've got some Blueprint Sketch. We're going to start off with that, and then we'll blend that into some chipped sapphire. So I'm just taking one of the dome foams and we're just going right over the top. Now the texture paste is picking up just a little bit of the blue, but the more we move that around, the clearer that's going to get, because that will just wipe right off. Okay. Good. That's going to look so good. I love how it acts as a resist to the ink. It is super, super pretty. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now let's go for that chipped sapphire. So, a bit more ink. And blending in. Ooh. I love Chipped Sapphire. It is my absolute favorite blue, and it is just so dark and a little bit mysterious. So, just blending. There we go. That is going to look good. Okay. I just love how crisp the stenciling looks. And when we tilt this, it's going to look just like the night sky with the twinkling stars. That is going to be magical. There we go. Okay, that is good. Let's pick this up. Ooh. Now let's tilt that. Yep, and you can definitely see that sparkle. The camera's being a little picky about wanting to pick it up, but it is there. You can see the little rainbow specks. Now I am going to drip just a little bit of water over the top, just for a bit of splatter. That'll give the background a little bit more interest. Perfect. We'll be back in just a moment. I'm just going to quickly dry this off. Here we go. And I love that with a little bit of splattering water in the background. You know what? I really want to add a little dash of spritz now, just because I'd add a little bit more twinkle. Why not? Well shaken. And just a teeny bit of spritz. All right, there we go. Ooh, now we got even more sparkle on top of sparkle. Very shiny. It looks just like a starlight sky with little bits of glittering diamond in there. Very cool. All right, so now that I have that, let's just take a quick look at the other results we got with the texture paste, and we'll pull in some examples of the snowflakes, and then we'll get around to building our tags. So we'd altered some other pieces. We smudged it right over some ephemera pieces. This is Halloween, and you can see the little bits of iridescence. I love how it pops on the black. I think the black really makes it stand out. And this is some of the sparkle twinkling texture paste on some lighter colored ephemera. You can still definitely see it. I like this. It's like little bits of pixie dust on here. And it does make our pieces shiny. And here's another one. It's interesting how each color highlights different elements of the sparkle. I love that. And I think it's going to make a lot of really interesting pieces. Okay, and the other tag. There we go. This is, we stenciled in ink and then we added some twinkle over the top. And the purple really brings out some different colors too. It's absolutely fascinating the way this played out. Okay, so that would be Twinkle. And while we're here, let's take a look at the Snowflake Sparkle. So I just added a little bit to a couple of pieces. We've got like little icy clusters on the wreath. It's really lovely when dried. Ooh, you can really see the sparkle right there. I hope the camera's picking that up clearly. Well, I'm certainly seeing the sparkle. And this was another little bit. It's so pretty. I just love the iciness of it. So fun. And then I'd put a little bit on this graveyard scene, like for wintry snow. Okay, so let's go ahead and start putting together a tag. Let's see here. The tag really speaks for itself in some ways. Let's see. I do want something to kind of anchor it. That'd be good. And I do want to grab one of the little poinsettia pieces, or we could just do the little holly. That's nice. And let's add a paper doll. These guys are nice. This is from the holiday set. They could go right here. That pretty much takes up almost the entire tag. So if I just color in the paper doll a little bit and add some text. This is pretty much finished tag. We really don't need to do a lot because the background is pretty darn nice. So I'll glue this part first. We'll need to trim it in a little bit. There. Okay, that's in place. And I'll set that aside for a second. And let's get some watercolor pencils and add just a little bit of color here. I'm going to need something for the skin and something for her jacket, I think. Let's see here. No, that's one sugar. I'm looking for not dried marigold. What is it? Tattered rose. I think that's what I'm looking for. No, that's not tattered rose. Saltwater taffy. No. One lipstick. Nope. Spun sugar. Too light. Looking very specifically. I normally don't keep all the crayons in a box. I find it easier to locate things when they're in a organizer. But this, I love digging, but I don't like digging when I know exactly what color I want. Typically I have these sorted by color families and then I can find stuff really fast. And for her top, I want a green. I want pine needles or rustic wilderness. Oh, rustic wilderness, that works. Okay. There we go. All set. So we're just going to take some color right off the colored pencil and brush that onto the paper dolls. So I'm just going to do a very light tinting. I just want to add just a little bit of color to save this from being completely black and white. There we go. And over here. It surprisingly doesn't take a lot. You just need a little bit to give that a little bit of color, and it really changes the feel of the paper dolls. It's one of my favorite ways to alter. All right, now on to the rustic wilderness. Don't need a lot, I just want enough to give her jacket a bit of interest. There we go. About halfway there. Trying to get just a little bit more color off of this. There we go. Okay. So just brushing that on. I want that to be nice and vibrant. Green is a great color for the winter. And I think I might need to go back and do a little bit for a purse. Like a brown purse would look really nice. There we go. Okay, now I just want a bit of brown. Just grabbing my box back, popping the pencils back in, and there we go. I can use some ground espresso. Again, won't take much. Just a little bit to make this pop. There we go. And done. So for this I am going to use some foam squares to pop this up. One more foam square and we should be good. Now we just need to peel the backings off. good. Now I'll just toss those right into the trash. You know what? It would probably drive me nuts picking all of those off the floor later, so I like to clean as I go. And let's place these down. There, that's good. Now I want to add this sparkly piece. That's going to go right about here, and then I can finish that off with some sentiments. There we go. Pretty good. So sentiments now. Got a nice thick board sentiment, but I'm actually going to peel this because I want to split the sentiment up. I've been doing this a lot lately. Some of the baseboard pieces have really good things, but sometimes you can't fit that big chunky bit into a project. So it's really nice to have the option of making things smaller and sizing them to fit. So let's take our scissors and we'll just cut. Good, and we'll glue. Doesn't take much, just a little bit. Let's put that right here. And the other piece. Let's move that down just a hair. Okay. Good. I think that works out pretty well, and I'm just going to trim off this little bit right here. Here we go. This is Twinkle paste, and we have mixed in a little bit of Snowflake to create a very sparkly Christmas tag. Now let's dive into some Halloween. So for Halloween, we altered this tag using a shifter stencil. Now let's see if we can build to create ourselves a spooky little scene. So I've got plenty of sentiments right here. I've got the sticker book, and what else? I want to use this as the main focal point, but I want to trim it down just a bit. Okay, that's going to go here. And we can tuck that around there. I really want this to be going across the bottom. That's great. I want to kind of tuck this eye in. That's fun and creepy. That's good. And then I want to finish off with some stickers, I think. Okay, there's that. Now let's add this piece. And this is going to be one of the main focal points. This is from, I think this was in last year's ephemera pack for Halloween. But I love the creepy girl, and I did alter her with some distress mica spray stains at one point. And you can tell by the way that is shimmering. Okay, and she can go right here. Then I want to lay down the little eyeball.
So just adding a bit of glue, placing that right here. That's just going to look great peeking through the word wicked. Now, wicked was die cut using some deco paper that I put on top of some craft stock to give it a little bit more stability. And this is from one of the Vault series. I love the writing for this. It's just got this great Gothic-y type font. Okay, good. And I wanted the 13 in there, and then I was going to grab some stickers to see what I could find. Nice. Okay, let's see what I've got for stickers. Should have quite a bit of choice. I think I want to start with the stuff in the back and see what I can add. Ooh, we've got lots of bats. I'm definitely going to want some bats. Don't need a portrait. I've already got a main focal point. Ooh. Got some birds and the word poison. Then I've got some hats and a whole bunch of skulls. Now, I do know I want some bats. I want to add 2 bats. There we go. We've got some bats. And I want to add something else. Let's add one of the little poison things. Okay, that's good. And now we're going to pick a sentiment. So I've got a few sentiments, and I'll read them as we go along. Sometime in the middle of the night, I'll need to shorten this just a little bit. Eyes fixed unwaveringly. Upon them. Out of the hollow. Oh, maybe I can trim that down just a little bit right there. There. Ooh. Not bad. Sometime in the middle of the night, eyes fixed unwaveringly upon them, out of the hollow. I kind of want some more words. Her eyes were dark, in utter despair. Peculiar. There. I like that. That is fun. Now I kind of want to add just a little bit of ink around the edges. Let's see. I think I want the brown. Okay. Just going to kind of brush that on. Doesn't need to be a lot, just a little bit. And a little bit down here. Okay, that is all right. So there we go. We have gotten to use the Twinkle paste with a dash of Snowflake in 2 different ways. Let's take a closer look. Here are our 2 completed tags. Today we've been playing with texture paste, Twinkle, and the gorgeous Snowflakes, glitter mica flakes. We've created 2 very different tags. In the first tag, we worked on a sparkling Christmas using the Twinkle paste as a resist while doing a bit of ink blotting and then some water splattering to create this sparkling Christmas tag. Then we jumped over to the dark side in Halloween. We investigated a shifter stencil while using a dash of Twinkle paste to alter some inked spaces. Then we did a little bit of collage to create a spooky good story using the Tim Holtz Ideology stickers. Thank you so much for joining me here today at the Crafty Corner, and until next time, happy crafting!